The day that I was going to take the entrance exam for Hartnell College, I was getting in my car to go to the exam, and my oldest sister followed me out to my car and was trying to talk to me. But I was kind of running late, and I didn't want to be late. I wanted to take this test and go to college. She started asking me about Jim and asked something along the lines of if I was going to see him. And I said, probably. I wasn't sure where she was going with this because last I checked, she had nothing to do with me ever in my life. She was the crazy druggie that didn't wear underwear. At least that's how my mom talked about her. I think this was the first time she ever really seemed to want to take any interest in what I was doing. I didn't really know her. She is 9 years older than me, and we never lived together because she left to live with my dad when she was 16. I wasn't really old enough to understand that she was my sister because she was never around. I only knew her through what my mother would say to my stepdad about her when they had to deal with her being caught taking prescription drugs in high school, and my real dad couldn't handle her anymore and sent her back to my mom's. I used to look up to her a little. Anyway, she says, "Oh, you gonna go fuck him?" I immediately snapped back, "Fuck off!" I was stunned. I had never said anything like that before in my life. I mean, I'm sure I used to say the F word, but not to a person that I felt the need to defend myself from. How dare she ask me that? I just stared at her in shock as I got in my car and drove away and passed the entrance exam and was on my way to my dreams. I simply ignored her intrusions. I couldn't in any way understand where that came from and how she thought I would want to talk to her about that, or why the subject of sex would come up when I was trying to do something that would bring me closer to my dreams. During my last years of high school and my community college years, I also danced in Monterey. I took classes regularly at Monterey Dance Academy with Frank Quellentine Jr. He was magnificent. I loved dancing for him. His choreography was so fun to do. I finally was getting some technical training. I was learning so much about costume design and lighting. I was excited to be chosen to dance in a cabaret dinner theater called Monterey by Night with the DeFranco dancers. It was a dinner performance at a French restaurant called La Provence. Every Sunday night for 6 months we did this show and danced around the people eating their dinners. It included 6 dances. One of them I actually had a solo. I got to show off my stuff outside the school environment. It was more risque. We wore G-strings and sequin, headpieces to the sky. People compared it to Vegas shows. They said it was the next best thing to going to Vegas. It was pretty controversial for my Mormon family, considering I was dancing with gay people and transgender people. I personally loved it. I personally didn't pay any attention to anyone's sexual preferences because it didn't make one bit of difference. I was dancing in a show with a company. I was delighted. One performance night, I was coming down the very steep and narrow stairway from the dressing room that was above the restaurant dining area. My heel got caught on the first stair, and I went head first down the staircase. I ended up on my back, looking up to the top of the stairs. Ouch! I recovered pretty quickly to run down and perform the next piece, the can-can. But before I did, as Frank and a couple of the other dancers gathered around to look at me, Frank says, "You didn't have to do that to get attention." I snapped back pretty fast. I did not do that for attention. I was pretty insulted that he would insinuate that I had hurled my body down a flight of stairs for attention. That's just madness. I was pretty shaken up about it, but the show must go on. Thinking back on it now, it was all very innocent. It was all about entertainment. Clean, fun entertainment for everyone. It was 1986-87. Frank was definitely before his time, pushing the boundaries, but it was more that the Mormon church was starting to get close-minded and judgmental. I stopped going to church when I was 15. I'm not exactly sure why, but it probably had something to do with the failed 15th birthday party at my dad's house. That pain was more than I could bear. Up until then, I was going to church every Sunday and Wednesday nights. Church dances were a regular thing. I was even found worthy enough to go be baptized for the dead twice in the temple. I remember the interview I had to have with the bishop of my ward that I attended. It was pretty simple considering I was 12 years old. I didn't think much about it when he asked me if I had kissed any boys. I thought it was just what they asked. Of course, my answer was no. It never occurred to me that they would have thought I was lying, because I was a good girl. I wasn't even thinking of kissing boys, let alone lying about it. Anyway, when I got back to my mom's after the semester with my dad, all my church friends there had already stopped going to church. I went to a couple of seminary classes before school in Prunedale, but it was a different setting. Prunedale was in the hills. Most of the off-road driveways weren't paved yet. Getting up at 5:30 in the morning was uncomfortable, and because there weren't any of what I thought to be friends going either, it just wasn't worth it. Most of all the girls I went to church with in Prunedale got pregnant at a very early age, and the others that didn't were in drug rehabs already. I didn't stop going to church because I had changed. I stopped going because it had changed. I still believed in Jesus Christ, but I didn't believe that it was right to only communicate with people that go to the Mormon church. Their expectations of me were to do nothing with my life other than getting married and having babies. I wasn't against that. I just wanted to do other things. I knew how much the Mormon church meant to my family on both sides. My mother's side of the family goes all the way back to Brigham Young himself. His brother, Phineas Young, is my great-great-great-great-grandfather. My grandfather's mother's grandfather. My dad converted to the church when he was 17. They were married in the temple, whatever that means. I know it was a huge deal that my mother seemed to be the first woman to ever fight hard enough to be granted a temple divorce, so that now she could marry my stepdad in the temple, as well as my dad to my stepmom. It just all seemed rather confusing to me. I mean, marriage in the first place is supposed to be for life, but marriage in the temple is for time and all eternity. But they're getting divorced in both? It was all just too much. I just wanted to dance.